Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss a basic IT awareness, some concept of e-governance and concept of big data. So I first start with the types of computer and computer hardware. So in first we have some basic terminologies. Computer. What is computer? So it is a device. Computer is only a device that accept input, process data, store data and produce output. Computer is only a machine, it is only a device which can accept the input, process the input, store the data and produce an output. And all work perform according to a series of stored instructions. It means all the operations perform in computer in the form of certain instructions. After that, we have hardware. So what is hardware? Literally, we can say anything which is physically available. We can say it is a hardware. It includes the electronic and mechanical devices that process the data, refers to a computer as well as whereas its peripheral devices. So hardware is nothing except a devices that available uh, in physical mode. After that, we have software. What is it? Software is a computer program. Software is nothing. It is only a computer program that tell the computer how to perform particular task. It means to perform any particular task, we need some software or some applications. So what is software? We can say, in other words, software is a set of program. After software, we have network. We can define network as two or more computer and other devices that are connected for the purpose of data sharing and programs are called network. Network is nothing except it is a interconnected computers. Interconnected computers means it means we must have more than one computer that are connected together. Why all computers are connected together? Only for the purpose of resource sharing. What is resource? Resource, it means your data, your program, your some videos, some photographs, some notes, some PDF files, etc. You can say all are the resources. So computer network is only a collection of computer or collection of devices that are connected for the purpose of resource sharing. After that, we have one another terminology that is peripheral devices. What is peripheral devices? It is used to expand the computer's input, output and storage capacities. Okay, with the help of peripheral devices, we can perform the operations such as input, output and the storage capabilities. They are the physical devices. We can say they are the components of our hardware. Now, after that, we have some certain types of computers. First one is your microcomputer. What is it? A personal computer that designed to meet the computer need of an individual are called microcomputer. It provides access to a wide variety of computing applications such as word processing, photo editing, email and the internet. It means computer which are used for our personal use and designed to meet only for uh, to solve the purpose of any individual. We can say that computer is our microcomputer. What it provide? It provide wide computing applications, word processing, photo editing, email and the internet. So we use our microcomputer for performing all these types of work. After that, we have desktop computer. It is another type of the computer. A microcomputer that fits on a desk and run on the power from electrical wall outlet. Those microcomputer that can fixed on a desk are known as desktop microcomputers. The CPU can be housed in either a vertical or a horizontal case. We can place the CPU. CPU is nothing, it is a central processing unit. We can place CPU either vertical or horizontal. It depends upon the types of CPU. Now, a desktop computer has separate components, such as the what are the components? Those components like the keyboard, mouse, and all components plugged into the computer. Computer means what? All components which are separated must be plugged into CPU. That is your central processing unit. Another type of computer is laptop. So what is laptop? It is a portable, compact that run on an electric wall outlet or a battery unit. All of us know laptop very well. It is very portable and easy to carry from one place to another place. All components such as the keyboard, mouse, CD driver all are compact into one unit in laptop. Usually, it is a more expensive in the comparison of the desktop. Sometimes we can say our laptops as a notebook. After that, we have another type of computer, that is supercomputer. What is supercomputer? Computer that was fastest in the world at the time it was constructed. That time supercomputer was constructed. It was one of the fastest computer in the comparison of the others. It can tackle tasks that would not be practical for other computer. It means we process such type of task which was impossible for the other computers. Very typical uses of the supercomputers that are breaking codes. Okay, what it meaning of breaking codes? It means we can break the code, we can break the password, we can decrypt the codes that coded in some particular code using such type of algorithms. Next, or another use of supercomputer was the modeling weather system. Now we have the mainframe computer. It is a large, expensive computer and capable of simultaneously processing of data, hundred or thousand of users. It means those computer which can process data for the multiples of user means thousands of user simultaneously are called mainframe computer. They are the large computer and they are expensive computers. It is used to store, manage and process large amount of data that need to be reliable, secure and centralized. Those data which need particular reliability, security and centralizations, we must process it with our mainframe computer. We can store those type of data in our mainframe of computer. Usually housed in a closed side cabinet. Next one is the very important. It is a handheld computer. It is also called the personal digital assistants. Before the cellular phone, handheld computer used by such some group of peoples. How can we define it? A computer that fit into a pocket, runs on batteries and is used while holding the unit in your hand is called handheld computer. These type of computer used as an appointment book, address book, such as the calculator and just like a notepad. It can be synchronized with a personal microcomputer as a backup. We can synchronize our handheld computer with personal microcomputer such as a backup. Next, computer components or the hardwares. First one is your system unit. This is nothing just like your CPU. So it is a case. Case means it is a there is a some certain cabinet type look that hold the power supply, a storage device, circuit boards. Circuit boards means what? Motherboard, that is the main heart of our computer system. So such type of units are combined into a one case, that is called your system unit, and this system unit is known as the CPU. Now this is the CPU. What? Central processing unit. There is a chip, a small size of chip that used for processing your work. Whether the processing in a computer tasks takes place, often called the vein of the computer. Now, input devices. Units that gather information and transform the information it into a series of electronic signals for the computer. Input devices are what? They gather the information and transform the information into a series of electronic signal for the computer. We have several type of input devices. First one is your keyboard. What is keyboard? The arrangement of letters, number and a special functions key that act as a primary input devices to the computer. It means keyboard is nothing. It is our input devices. It is our primary input devices in which there are arrangement of letters, number and some special keys. After that, there is one of the most popular input devices, that is mouse. It allows the user to manipulate object on the screen by moving the device along the surface of a disk. Next one is your sound card. What is the use of sound card? It is nothing, it is just like a circuit board that gives the computer the ability to accept audio input, play some type of sound and produce audio output through the speakers or headphones. So sound card is what? It is just like a board, it is just like a circuit board that allow the computer uh, to accept the input such as an audio and the produce such type of uh, such type of files through our speaker or headphones. Those files are which type of file? That are known as audio files. Now there is one of the most important component, that is a modem. Modem is what? It is a device that send and receive data to and from computer over telephone lines. Whenever we wish to connect our system with the internet, we must need modems. The modem is what? It also convert the signals into one form to another. It convert the signal, it convert the analog signal into digital. Now, after the input devices, we have one of the most important devices that are known as output devices. So, those type of devices that display, print or transmit the result of processing from the computer's memory are called output devices. We have several type of output devices. Now, first one is your monitor. Why we use it? We use it for the display an image and video or anything which is relevant to our work. It means monitor is a display device that form an image by converting electrical signal from the computer into point of colored light on the screen. Which type of uh, signals or what we need in monitor? First one is the resolution. What is it? It is a dense grid. It is a density of grid only used to display or print text and graphics. Next one is your pixel. It is the smallest unit in graphic image, and the computer display device use matrix or pixel to display text and graphics. After that, we have storage devices. Those devices that are used to store some data when your computer is turned off are called as storage devices. There are so many different forms of storage devices such as the hard disk, floppy disk, CD writer. Now, next one is your printer. It is output device that produce text or graphics image on papers. Next output device is a speaker. It receive the signal from the computer and play the music or sound effects. Now, after the functional unit of our computer system, we must need to know some important fundamental facts about operating system. So in which I will try to explain what are the components of an operating system, what are the functions of an operating system, types of operating system, and the command line tools. First, we need to know what is operating system and how many elements of our operating systems. We can define our operating system such as it is an interface between computer user and computer hardware. Operating system provide the facility that computer user can access all the hardware and all the software of our computer system. The elements of an operating system are the basically three types of the elements such as the user interface, kernel, and the file management system. If we are talking about the user interface, it means the part of the operating system that you use, that you interface with. Second one is the kernel. They are the one of the most important part of our operating system. It is the core of the operating system. It interacts with the BIOS, basic input output system, at one end, and the other one is your user interface. So basically, kernel interact with the two ends. First one is the BIOS, basic input output system, and second one is the user interface. After that, one of the most important element of our operating system is the file management system. We can use it for the organization and management of our files. After that, we need to know what are the functions of our operating system. They are the file management, application management, built-in utility, control of computer hardware. There are so many types of operating systems such as the multi-user, multitasking, and the multi-threading. What is multi-user? Try to just understand the name multi-user. It is a combination of two words. First one is the multi, second one is user. Multi means more than one, user means who are using the our system. It means two or more user work with the computer at the same time. It means more than one user or two or more user work with the computer at the same time. So we can say our operating system is a type of multi-user operating system. Next one is your multitasking. Just go through the words multi and tasking. Multi means more than one and tasking means task or processing. It means it can process more than one task at the same time. We can run more than one task in our computer system at the same time. Okay, such as we can play the music, we can type the text, and so many operations we can perform together. So we can say our computer system is a type of the multitasking computer system. Next one is a multi-threading. In the same way, multi means more than one and thread means a process or it is a program. Two or more part of the same process. Two or more part of the same process, not the different process, are running together or running concurrently at the same time. We can say it is multi-threading. Now, there are so many types of operating system which we use for our personal computer. So basically we use Microsoft Windows. There are so many versions of the Windows. Next one is the Macintosh operating system. Whenever we use such as Apple uh, brand name, so in Apple we use Macintosh operating system. So every hardware configuration must need its proper type of operating system. That's why we use different types of operating system. All operating system cannot install on the similar types of machines. Next one is your Linux. It is also one of the most important operating system which provide multiple time or which provide maximum security. Now, after that, we need to know file system. So basically, first we need to know what is a file. File is nothing. It is a collection of byte of information and treated as a single unit. It means file is a single unit that is a collection of the byte or information. Every file must have a name. So it is given a name to make it easy to find and use later. Whenever we have a name with our files, so we can track it easily. We can use it very easily, but if our file has no name, then it is very hard to find it and to search it if we have several types of files stored in the same location. Now the file system keep track of where a file is actually resident on a disk. What is a disk? A disk is subdivided into directories or folders. We can say our hard disk, floppy disk, optical disk are the type of the disk. In file system, the top level folder on a disk is known as the root, and the root is generally subdivided into subfolders. Any folder or subfolder can contain file and other folders, and the fully qualified file name include the name of the file and the path to the folder in which it resided. And the fully qualified file name means the complete path of our file name or the complete path where our file is stored. For example, in the C drive there is a folder courses. In the courses there is a subfolder 60061. There is another subfolder CIT141, and then after our file is stored, that is the chapter 4.ppts. So it is path to the folder, or we can say it is fully qualified file names. Now this is your Windows registered file type. What is Windows registered file type? A particular file extension that can be registered and associated with the particular program. It means that any file extension. What is the extension of the file? Here I provided some example where .docx. What is .docx? It is the extension and it is associated with the file that is MS Word type. So a particular file extension can be registered and associated with the particular program. Next one is your .xlsx. XLSX is what? Is the extension of our MS Excel file. Next one is your .txt. TXT is a extension of the Notepad program. Now I mentioned .html. So .html actually it is a part of the web browser. Using HTML we can create a web browser or we can create web pages. So by default web browser you have set in your computer system. For example, if your by default web browser is your Internet Explorer, then this type of file must be opened with the Internet Explorer. This is how Windows know what to do when you double click in file in my computer. After that, there is one of the most important in our operating system, that is DOS. DOS. DOS stands for Disk Operating System. It is also a part of the operating system which is almost preloaded in almost every computer system. In DOS, we have some specific commands, and these commands are divided into two types. It means the internal command and the external command. Those commands that are resident in the main kernel file, known as the internal command, and those command which are separate little programs are called as the external command. So DOS commands are basically of two types, internal command and the external command. And it is very important to learn DOS command because you can write a script to execute a set of command automatically. Here, this is your command prompt. To open the command prompt, you only need to type the run from your computer system, or if there is an option. If you have the latest configuration of your computer system, there is an option of the run. You only need to type cmd or command, command command, to open the command prompt. And this is the by default path of your command prompt. It means the your C drive where your operating system is installed, and inside there is a program files and the all user account where your name or your computer name is displayed. Now DOS commands are divided into three parts. Either they are the external type of command or internal type of command. All are divided into three parts. That is the command name, switches, and the parameter. To learn this, we must need to learn some DOS command or execute some DOS command. There is another one, the most important character, that is wildcard character. The character such as question mark and asterisk mark can be used to affect multiple files with a single command. The question mark means any single character. It means copy and any word file, sorry. It means copy any word file that begin with the word notes with exactly two other characters such as notes01.doc and the notes ab.doc. This is also a character of wildcard character. Example of the asterisk wildcard character. It is used to copy all the files with the name. At the command prompt, what we can do, there is a drive letter that makes your current drive. There is a cd drive command. Cd means what? Change directory. So with the use of cd, we can change our directory. We can change or move from one directory to another. There are so many types of DOS command. There are some important commands I provided here for you. That is the MD, used for create a directory. That stands for make directory. Using MD, we can create a folder. We can perform both. We can perform these operations in both form by using the text. It means by providing the command in DOS or by using our GUI operations. So we can create a folder very easily with our mouse key or with GUI operation. But if you are talking about the DOS or command prompt, we can create a folder using the command that is md or make directory. Next one is the RD. It means the remove a directory or an entire directory tree. Using this command, we can delete the directory. Next one is the dir. Dir display the content of a directory. Next one is the del. So del stands for what? Del delete one or more file. We can use del or erase for deletion of files. Next one is the copy. Using this command, we can copy one file to another folder. Next one is the xcopy. Xcopy what? It is a flexible copy command used for copying large group of files, commonly used for file backup. It means this type of command used for the file backups. Now we have some more DOS commands such as the move, ren means rename the files, attrib used for display or set file attributes, format for formatting a disk, chkdsk it checks the file system on a disk and report a status. It stands for check disk. Simply it tests the file system. Now after that we have the another one of the most important concept, that is the e-governance. E-governance is what? It stands for the electronic governance, and it is the integration of information and communication technology in almost every process with the aim of enhancing government ability to address the need of the general public. The basic purpose of e-governance is to simplify process for all. If we are using the e-governance, we must have the some benefit of it. So I listed some benefit of e-governance, that is the reduced corruption, high transparency, increased convenience, growth in GDP, direct participation of constitution, reduction in overall cost, expanded reach of government. After that, we have so many types of e-governance. First one is your G2G. It means the government to government. When the exchange of information and the service is within the peripheral of the government, is termed as the government to government information interaction. It means we are exchanging the information and all the services within from government to government. This can be both horizontal, that is the among various government entities, and the vertical, that is between nation, a state and the local government entities and within different level of the entities. It means they are the interaction only from government to government is known as the government to government interaction in e-governance. Now, second one is government to citizen. There is a interaction between the government and the general public. It's called G2C interaction or government to citizen interaction. Here an interface is set up between government and citizen, which enables citizen to get access to wide variety of public services. The citizen has the freedom to share their view and grievances on government policies anytime, anywhere. Next one is your government to business. In this case, the e-governance helps the business class to interact with the government seamlessly. It aims at enlightenment, red tapeism, saving time, cost and establish transparency in the business environment while interacting with government. Fourth one is government to employee. The government of any country is the biggest employer, so it also deal with the employees on a regular basis or other employers too. ICT helps in making the interaction between government and employees fast and efficient, along with raising their level of satisfaction by providing prerequisites and add-on benefits. Now we have a history of the e-governments. The concept of e-governments had its origin in India during the 70s with a focus on development of in-house government application in the area of defense, economic, monitoring, planning and the deployment of the IT to manage data intensive function related to the electronic census tax administration etc. The effort of the NIC is what? National Informatics Center to connect all the district headquarters during the 80s was a very significant development of our e-governments. From the early 19th, information technology were supplemented by ICT technology to extend its use for wider sectors application with policy emphasis on reaching out to the rural areas and taking in greater input from 44 NGOs as well as some private sectors. After the benefits and the history of the governments, we must have some challenges with e-governments. E-government's implementation in India is a big challenge, even though it is a big opportunity to bring service to all citizens. The quality and the accessibility are the key characteristic of any successful e-governance applications. Some of the practical problems that are faced in the e-governance implementation are difficulties in the management of the existing manual filing system, lack of clear and comprehensive approach and policy with respect to using information technology, lack of skills and awareness about IT among personnel, diffuse redundant and inconsistent effort in automation and in data entry, inaccuracy of data, wastage of time and energy due to manual system, poor infrastructure of your information technology, lack of understanding, support from senior administrations. Now, after that, I have the another one of the most important concept, that is the big data. So, in this introduction, what is big data and what makes our data big? Now, big data is what? There is no single definition of big data. Big data is a data whose scale, diversity, and the complexity require new architecture, technology, algorithm, and analysis to manage it and extract value and hidden knowledge from it. We have some characteristic of the big data. That is our data volume. Data volume is increasing exponentially. This is the types of the data volume. They are the terabytes, gigabyte, exabyte, and the zettabytes. Second complexity is the variety of our data. So various format, types, and the structured such as the text, numerical, image, audio, video, sequence, time series, social media data, etc. are used in the different varieties of our data. This is the second complexity of the big data. A single application can be generating and collecting many types of data. To extract knowledge, all these type of data need to linked together. And the third one is the velocity. Means data is being generated fast and need to be processed fast, such as online data analysis. Examples of the third speed or the velocity of data is the e-promotion and the healthcare monitoring. Now, big data is what? Big data is a combination of transaction, interaction, and the observation of all. It increases data variety and complexities. So they are the three most important components of our big data. That's the three V's. Three V's means what? Volume, velocity, and the variety. Now, some makes its 4V. There is another V in our big data. This is the veracity. It means whenever our data in doubt or uncertain due to data inconsistency and incompleteness, ambiguity, we can say this is the part of the veracity. So sometimes in big data we have 4 V's such as the volume, velocity, variety, and with veracity. Now, this is the harnessing in big data. What? There is the OLTP and the OLAP, such as with RTAP. So, what is OLTP? OLTP means the online transaction applications. OLAP, online analytical process, and RTAP is the real-time analytic processing. All these are used to improve business responses. Now, OLTP, online transaction processing, basically used in the DBMS. OLAP, online analytical processing, basically it used in the data warehouse. Third one is the RTAP. It means the real-time analytic processing. Where it will use? We will use it in the big data architecture and the technologies. Who is generating big data? This is one of the very popular question. Social media and the network, all of us are generating big data, such as the Facebook, Twitter, whatever the social media. YouTube is also a part of the social media. Scientific instrument, it means the collecting all sort of data. Mobile devices, tracking all object all the time, it also is the part of the big data. Sensor technology and the networks, it measuring all kinds of data. And the progress and innovation is no longer hindered by the ability to collect data, but by the ability to manage, analyze, summarize, visualize, and discover knowledge from the collected data in a timely manner and in a scalable fashion. Now, the model has changed. The model of generating and consuming data has changed. Old model was what? Few companies are generating data, all other are consuming data. What changes in the new model? It means all of us are generating data and all of us are consuming new data. What what is driving big data? So there is the complexity and the business value. Using both variation, we can driving our big data such as in the business intelligence, ad hoc queries and the reporting, data mining techniques, structured data, and the small to mid-sized data all are used in the business intelligence. If I talked about predictive data analysis, it means optimization and predictive analysis, complete statistical analysis, and the all type of data and many sources. They are the very large data set and more of a real time. After that, what are the value of big data analysis? Big data is more real time in nature than traditional data warehouse applications. The traditional data warehouse architectures such as the Exadata, Teradata are not well suited for big data applications. Shared nothing, massively parallel processing, scale out architectures are well suited for big data applications. Now, there are few challenges in handling big data such as the bottleneck in technology. It means the new architecture, algorithm, techniques are needed to handle the big data. And also we need a technical expert in using the new technology and dealing with the big data. So these are the two more important challenges that we are facing recently for challenging in big data handling. What are the big data technologies? So big data technologies are here the moving parts such as the Hadoop, Hive, and all the technologies here such as the fast data, big data analysis, and deep insight are the technologies of the big data. They increase their age according to the size of the data, such as the terabyte, petabyte, exabyte, and the zettabyte. The amount of data stored by the average company today.